Told you.
All right, staff ready? Good deal. We'll now call the city council regular meeting to order for February the 10th. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Pray with me. Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. Lord, we just ask you for your wisdom tonight, Father. Lord, we ask for protection, Lord, for the city, for the state, for this country, Father. We ask for unity, Lord. We ask that you bring us all together, Father. We ask that your will be done here tonight, Father. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Councilmember McGuire. Here. Councilmember McCure. Here. Councilmember Taylor. Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. First up be the consent agenda. Items 5 through 7. We'll be looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or changes?
There's just one change to the January 27th that has Shirley Johnson as doing the Pledge of Allegiance, but it was Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Okay.
Pledge of
Thank you.
Allegiance.
Mhm.
Oh,
Anything else? All right, seeing none, we may call the roll.
Yes, sir. Councilmember McGuire.
Yes.
Councilmember McCure.
yes.
Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We have item D8. This will be ordinance 01-2025.
Ordinance to providing for a program of regulation of city rights of way in the city of Avon Park, providing for prohibitions and limitations, providing for franchises, providing for permitting work in the rights of way, providing for fees, providing for ensuring indemnity of the city and insurance requirements, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Now, I believe this is a second reading, is it not?
It is.
Yes.
The second reading, this will be a public hearing. So we have a public hearing for ordinance number 01-2025 is now open. Anyone wishing to speak on the rights of way regulation can now do so. Seeing no speakers, public hearing for ordinance 01-2025 is now closed. We'll be looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 01-2025, the right of way regulations.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire.
Yes.
Councilmember McCure.
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item number 9, we have ordinance 04-2025.
An ordinance of the city of Avon Park, Florida, providing for a standard procedure for vacating rights of way and easements, providing for a petition to initiate city action, providing for required information and petition and payment of city costs with a deposit for city costs, providing for review of city attorney and by city attorney and other city staff, officials, and consultants, providing for notice of it to adjacent property owners, providing for an ordinance notice specific to the closing and other procedures, providing for ratification of all previous ordinances and resolutions, closing roads, alleys, and easements, providing for release of city rights to the road, alley, street, or easement, but disclaiming any assignment of such right to any specific person, but only according to law, providing for codification, repeal of conflicting ordinances and resolutions, but preserving and ratifying the previous road, alley, and easement closing ordinances and resolutions, providing severability and providing for scrivener's errors, and providing an effective date.
You earned your keep on that one, Jerry.
It's a mouthful.
Why not? This is also a second reading, right?
Yes.
All right. As it's the second reading, a public hearing for ordinance 04-2025 is now open. Anyone wishing to speak on the standard procedure for vacating rights of way and easements can now do so. Seeing no speakers, public hearing for ordinance 04-2025 is now closed. We'll be looking for a motion.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 04-2025, please.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire.
Yes.
Councilmember McCure.
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item number 10, this will be ordinance 05-2025.
An ordinance of the City Council of Avon Park, Florida, providing for regulation of special events, providing for purpose and intent, providing for administrative authority and definitions, providing for entitlement to a special event permit and general prohibitions and rules, providing for uses of city property and application review process, providing for special event permits, providing for suspension or termination of special event permits, providing for conflicts, providing for severability of provisions, providing for scrivener's errors, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. All right, Danielle, do you want to start us off with this, or do you want to stand for questions?
Sure. The city has had an application formalized for events. However, there has not been a clear defined process of how you go about applying, what can be approved, who approves it, how it can be terminated. And also we want to codify capturing fees and costs associated with events.
Okay.
That's the next resolution. There is one thing here I noticed, and I think you noticed it as well because you put a highlight. Does the city have a cemetery? That they own.
No, Bougainvillea is a private.
Yeah.
Privately owned.
All right. So what we need to remove as part of your motion is if you look at the definition of city property, just remove everything after city parks, like period, and then remove the cemetery or other city depot. My mistake, I did one of these and I used it as a form for another city, and they have a depot and they have a cemetery.
Okay. All right. Do we have any further questions?
I actually do have a few questions on this, and it's just for clarification for my own benefit, actually. Do we have a breakdown of what is considered a large event opposed to a small event?
Yes,
Yes.
I believe that's in the ordinance.
It's defined. If you look at the definition for a large event, that shall mean events where the number of anticipated participants exceeds 50, or any event where alcohol is anticipated to be present, or dangerous activities or instrumentalities are planned. Now, that 50 is something you can change if you'd like. I mean, that's just what I've used in the past,
Okay.
but some people feel like larger events, but just bear in mind, these are the ones that would have just that much more requirement for things like police presence and sometimes fire presence and things like that.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, that's good. That's
EMP.
what I wanted. I didn't see that. So a permit fee covers on the exhibit C. Regular events are $50. This fee includes the cost of the city staff to review an application. I don't have to read through all that because you guys know what it says. It covers one request for additional information if the information fails to state all necessary documents for the special event. So the large event doesn't get the same ability to have no additional paperwork?
Well, they'll have a general permit, which is the attachments, but they may require to have a contract. You're going to have a large event. In the past, we've done those by contract simply because there are so many oddball types of things that attach to it. But if they need one, then they'll let me know, because there might be a large event that doesn't need it, that still fits a general permit requirements and so on. But if they're going to, if they have to have like a building inspector come out and inspect something like a platform for a band or something like that, these are the types of things you can't do. And we had I guess the lawnmower races out, things like that. They just require more attention.
Okay, so if the applicant on a regular event fails to meet the necessary documentation for the event, the way I'm reading it, and I guess I just need some clarification, are they going to have to pay? Is it going to be dropped? Is it going to be, how is that going to work if they have to come back and ask for additional documentation since they've already expired their one request?
Yeah, they'll have to pay the city costs associated with, giving them, going back out to them and then re-reviewing the permit application and so on. If there's a contract, they'll have to pay my time, put that together.
See, and that's what I was wondering, because the larger events doesn't have that. So it's just, they can ask as many times as they need.
No, it's just, it'll be whatever that cost is. if that's not clear, then we can make it clearer. If obviously it's not clear, if you have
So
a
am
problem
I
with it.
the only one that's not understanding that
You know,
correctly?
Jerry, if I understand this correctly, you're inferring that the large events are sort of assumed that they will need follow-up questions. Is that right?
Well, they likely will if they have a lot of complex types of situations. It just may be a larger,
Yeah.
small event. Where you just have more people than 50 and, but it's normally an event you have every year, like something like an Oktoberfest. Well, we know that that's going to like the large event according to the definition because they have alcohol associated with it. And it may not have 50 people or it may have more than that, but they're usually not that complex, other than street closings and things like that, which they can handle
Sure.
and staff. So they're not necessarily going to need a contract for that. But if it's not clear, then, it's something we can amend this if you'd like.
Well, I would just hate for the larger event to not turn their paperwork in and then staff would have to reach out to them multiple times and they could come back and say, well, it never said anything in there about one request or two requests, just didn't say.
They
I
don't
think
have
it's
to pay for the time if they go over the allotted amount of time for the large event, is what he's saying.
Well, I would just suggest if there's not any huge issue, that go ahead and approve it, this ordinance, and we can amend it to adjust. And I think any of these ordinances they're going to need to be tweaked. It's just once we get them in place, then we see where the weaknesses are and we shore those up with amendments.
So once somebody turns in a permit, then Danielle and the rest of the city departments will give them a list of things that are missing.
Well,
And then they have that chance to
they'll
turn that
turn
in.
in an application, and that'll be something else we'll have to tweak is applications, because we'll tell them what they're supposed to provide to us, based on what they've already said. This is what kind of event we're going to have. Well, here's the application that you'll need for that, because we think it's going to be a large event, and it's going to have a list of things that they need to provide. But often what happens is, well, we say you're supposed to provide a 501c3,
Right.
certificate if you're going to try and claim that type of thing.
For common events and stuff like that, I can see that. The only issue I see is if, say, they're having an event that we've never had before, and then Danielle sends it to the fire department and the sheriff's department and all of the different departments. And so they're kind of analyzing this through a new lens. We tell them the basic stuff that they need to turn in, but then once they turn it in, maybe the fire department has an issue with it and requires additional information. I don't think the person should have to pay for that additional review if it's
I think
if it's something new that the fire department's
No,
requiring kind of a deal. I can see the basic information.
I
but-
totally agree with that, and I think that's something that the staff can handle with their discretion. This is an oddball one. We got to spend more time looking at it, but we're not, at staff level, but we're not going to charge them more because they're having to send back out for more. But they may have to spend more time for us staff time because it is a complex circumstance that requires additional review, but we're not going to charge them for having to go back out for re-review.
Okay. Are you done, Shelley? If you are, I have to.
Go ahead.
No, it's okay.
I'm still thinking about, I just don't like the way that's worded. I just feel like the regular events, if they miss out, too bad, they're gonna have to pay again, but the bigger events, that doesn't list them at all. It doesn't list any kind of request for additional information at all.
Jerry, do you see an issue with putting the same language from the small event to the large event as far as being able to have follow-up questions or follow-up information?
No,
Would that satisfy?
I think it would, yes.
Okay. Brittany, did you have a question?
Yeah, but it's not related to that. So I just want to make sure she's
Yeah, I'm
done.
done.
You're done. Okay. The first thing is just in section A, I think it's just maybe a word choice issue, but instead of insure with INSURE, I think it should be ENSURE.
Yeah.
Since we're not going to provide them with insurance.
Well-
And then page,
what page was that on?
that was right underneath the opening heading. So page 1, I believe. Yes, page 1.
It must
Page 41 out of the packet.
must have been autocorrect. in this
Yeah,
case.
yeah. Okay, and then the other thing on page 51. It says that it can be denied, the deadline to deny the event is 15 days prior to the event. However, I think it would be better to have so many days after staff receives the packet. If they receive the package in totality, then they should have only so many days to approve it. Because if they turn in an application, 3 months before the event, there's a lot of planning that has to go into some of these large events. And if the city waits until 15 days prior to the event, I don't feel like that's
Okay, I appreciate that.
sufficient.
Yeah. And if you see anything that you think needs to be, tweaked, I just do this stream of consciousness,
Right.
so.
So the change would be 15 days after the application is received, what you're proposing?
We should, I mean, they have 7 days. So the departments have to give their responses within 7 days of Danielle giving them the application.
Okay.
So I guess the question is to Danielle, do you think an additional 7 days, would 15 days be enough for all of the departments to view it, you to look over it one more time? It would still have to come before us, correct?
I would say 7 days would be sufficient after I receive it from the departments, assuming it's a complete application, and that
Okay.
I don't need additional information.
Okay.
So how would we word that, Jerry?
So you want to change 7 days to 15?
No, the 7 is fine, that because the departments have 7 days to get it back to Danielle. But then under the appeal or the permit denial,
Is that number H1?
yes, yeah. We have to submit a letter of denial within 15 days of the city manager receiving the complete application.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Okay. And how much time you want to make that?
Staff just implied that they need 7 days after the departments have reviewed it.
So the departments have 7 days and then she gets an additional 7 days. So we said just make it 15 days.
Under H1?
Yes.
It is 15.
Instead of saying 15 days prior to the proposed date of the event, it would be 15 days after
After the-
receipt of completed application.
Okay.
Is that acceptable language?
Yeah, that's no problem.
Anything else?
I already talked to Danielle because my only question was, does this mean the city manager's now approving these? But she said, no, they're still coming before us. And then we had also talked about her ability to change the date in case of a weather event or like with the Martin Luther King thing when we had to come back and do the date. So she said she had spoken to you about it and we could make that as part of each motion when we approve an event,
Mhm.
if for some reason there's unforeseen weather or if there was a scrivener's error on the application, that Danielle would have the ability to approve
Yeah.
those things.
Okay, just, you want her to have that discretion to make those changes. And
Right.
so we just have to make the motion broader. I mean, if you're just approving a permit, that should be the breadth of it because you're getting the permit. And, but I can put something in here that scrivener's errors and minor modifications can be made even after a vote by the council, if you
Okay.
prefer that.
I would like that. I mean, does that work
It would
for you?
Probably
Okay.
make things a lot more streamlined.
I have a question for Dr. Kelly. Dr. Kelly, at what point will is it the 15 days, is it the 15 days before we send it, before we send it denial, whether we will review the application for accuracy? Like that, we won't have a problem like we did with the, Dr. Martin Luther King parade? At what point do we review the application to make sure the applicant, let's just talk about the dates, want the date that we think they want or they think they want? Well, at what point will we review the application and get back with the applicant?
Well, the departments have 7 days to review and respond to the application. And then I have an additional 7 days to review, and then it would go to council. And that's only if I'm going to deny it for whatever
So
reason.
it's that first 7 days that the department have to review it.
Right, but we're not going to know as staff if they've put the wrong date on there. We're just going to look at it at face value and say that's the date they want. I have no way of knowing that's not really the date they want.
Nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
That city was.
That's something we can do about it. We can pick up the phone and we can call and say, keep from having this problem in the future. We're just making sure this is the date and time of your event. I mean, that wouldn't take a lot of work, would it?
It wouldn't, but I think we're addressing that by giving me the authority to make minor modifications after council has approved the event. if there's a Scrivener's error or if there's inclement weather and they need to change the date, I would have that authority once you have approved the event.
Yeah, believe me, we were pained by the fact that she could not change that once you all had specifically accepted it on that date.
And,
There's-
and I'm sorry, and, Mr. Byrd, that wasn't something that could be done on Zoom? I'm just asking.
No, you can't have meetings on Zoom. Yeah, we only had those during COVID because the governor had allowed it.
Okay.
So you're required to have at least a quorum here. And if anybody's absent, has to have a significant reason for being gone, related to something like health or emergency of some type.
Okay.
So, yeah, everybody has to be here. Sorry.
No.
But like I said, we were really unhappy with ourselves to have to do this, especially me.
Any other questions or changes? Seeing none. Can we simply approve with stated changes?
I think there's too many changes to do that. And I think it'd be better if we just go ahead and redo the first draft and then reread it, because this is going to be a significant
Okay.
ordinance.
You'll bring it back to us at a future meeting.
Yep, next meeting, I'll have it done.
Anyone opposed to that?
No.
Very good. Are we going to move on to the resolution 2025-03, or will that get changed as well?
Yeah, well, we won't change that, but the without the ordinance in place, the resolution is meaningless.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to item number 12. This will be 3011 North Twin Lakes Drive utility bill waiver.
Yes, we have a request from Ingrid Gardner. She's Highlands County Director of Community Programs, and Ms. Denise Williams, Highlands County's Veterans Services Officer, to forgive $1,110.68 that's owed on account number 62887-30330. And I would invite either one of the ladies up to the podium if they want to speak to this issue.
Going once, going twice. We have a taker. All right. You will just give your name and organization for the record, please.
Good evening, councilmen, women, and respected citizens and veterans that are in the committee. My name is Denise Williams. I am the County Veteran Service Officer for Highlands County. We come before you tonight with a unique situation. This individual, who is a combat veteran who served our country in Vietnam, I came in contact with this veteran in May because of the condition of his home. We are currently trying to assist him being able to get him back on his feet. He has no family here. He has no children. He basically has no one. All he had was neighbors who complained. And I told them if they want to complain, they should do some fundraisers like the 501Cs are doing to assist this veteran. We come before you today to ask for you to please waive this fee. You know, JFK said, ask not what your country could do for you, but what you could do for your country. Well, this veteran served our country. He served our country well. Not only did I serve our country in Vietnam, he turned down the Bronze Star because he felt like he didn't deserve it. This veteran deserves a chance. We're in the process of repairing his roof, repairing the inside of his home. We have also secured a veteran's lawn service is going to mow his lawn for a year. So we come before you today to take special consideration on this unique situation with someone who served our country and served our country well.
Okay. Do we have any questions for her?
I do. I have some questions.
Yes, ma'am.
How long has this house been in this shape? It's been quite a long time, right?
It's been in this shape due to hurricanes and debris from a neighbor's house and a tree that fell on his house.
But how long has it been like that?
I became aware of it in May. I would imagine at least 3 years. No one did anything to assist this individual.
Did he have homeowners insurance on his?
No, ma'am. His home is paid for. If you knew what his income was, you would think, how in the world does he survive? He could teach all of us how to be frugal. He could make a penny squeak. I can't believe he's surviving on what he's making.
So what's the condition of the house on the inside?
The condition is fine except for the 2 rooms where the roof fell in. We have a grant, USDA grant that's going to replace his roof, as well as we have gotten some other funds from that through the SHIP program. We're currently looking at it to tear down his walls and replace his walls. There's 2 rooms that are bad.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Ms. Paula Williams, what was the amount?
The amount she's requesting is
$1,110.68, Councilwoman,
And you requesting it to do what?
to be waived.
Is this veteran? Is he disabled?
I can't legally say that.
Okay, I should have known better.
She and I served together at Fort Stewart, Georgia.
Miss Paula Williams, he lives, what city he lives in?
Avon Park,
He lives in Avon.
Twin Lakes, right on River Greens, right on the golf course.
So how did this water bill get so high? How did it get up to that high?
he
And he's
was-
got no water now, right?
That is correct.
So
and
how is he living with no water?
He is using bottled water. Remember, he served in the jungle. We also have a plumber that is a former veteran that is willing to take the cost of finding where the leak is, because he was told by the water department they're going to turn off his water. He has a leak, but no one's helped him to find out that leak, find where the leak is. So we have a plumbing company here in Highlands County that is at no cost to the veteran. Pro bono is going to find that leak and repair it. We just got to get the water back on. We're going to have a travel trailer through a grant through Dr. Bobby that's going to be placed in his yard so he can stay in that. He can't be in a very confined place, so we have a larger one. So we have a lot of agencies coming together to help this individual.
The only question I have is for Jerry. Jerry, do you see any legal issue with waiving this?
No, actually, I'll speak more than I should. Although you don't have an obligation to find those leaks, I hope that we have a program for veterans such as him, because my older first cousin is a very similar situation and as a Silver Star recipient, and he if it was him, I would do it myself. But since you have the ability to give to charity, this apparently is a similar to a veteran charity. You can't do it for everybody, but this seems like a really meaningful circumstance. Just my personal opinion.
Okay.
Thank you,
I got
sir.
One more, Mayor, I got
Go
one
ahead.
more. Denise, the leak, was it on the city's property or the homeowner's property, or have it even been?
He
discussed?
owns the home outright. He owns the home. He owns the land.
Uh-huh.
There is no HOA. He is on a golf course. He's outside the city, but he pays his water bill through the city.
The leak, I think, is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
The leak would have to be on his side of the meter. Otherwise, it wouldn't be an issue, because it wouldn't cost him anything if it was on our side.
I know that, Ms. Bird, but the point, the issue that I have is that we have so much water problem going on, complaints going on with the city. I'm just trying to make sure that this home has been checked and making sure that it is on his property and not the city. That's my.
Well, should they have a plumber secured is what she said, to figure out where that leak is. And Jason's got his hand, so I'll let him.
I do have okay.
Councilmember Taylor, we have gone out there multiple times. When this request came through, I asked staff to go out and double, triple check that it was on their side of the meter, and it is.
And it is, yeah, okay.
And the plumber said he's pretty sure it's internal, so he can't figure out where it's at till the water's back on. And the veteran can't pay for the water to be able to turn it back on to find out where the leak is.
How long has it been off?
Since November. Because of the extent, and he was told by a meter reader that that is from a water leak.
Okay.
Now, I
Obviously-
can't give you the meter reader's name.
Melody, can you verify that last time or when that water was turned off?
Yeah, Danielle, you've got my paperwork there. I
I
think
have
it's
it.
November.
November 22nd.
24?
Like, I guess the important thing too, from my understanding with talking to Ingra is if we do not waive this and get the water turned on, it's actually jeopardizing all of the grant assistance that he has already applied for,
$42,900.
plus an additional 10 for the hurricane damage from SHIP from that program. So
It's clearly a worthy cause, so I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve waiving the fee of $1,110.68 owed to account number 62887-30330. Do you still want a second?
I still want to say.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions?
No, sir.
Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
yes.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
And I would like, when this is all completed, I would like to bring pictures to y'all to show that you made a difference in somebody's life. And I greatly appreciate y'all blessing this
We
individual.
would very much appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have item number 13. This will be the leak adjustment policy. Melody?
Yes. So you have in front of you a leak adjustment policy. We've had this in place for several years, but it specifically said sewer would not be adjusted because it was at just a base rate.
Mhm.
So now that we have the tiered rates, it needs to address the sewer for the tiered rates. And I've suggested that over the amount of their regular bill, we adjust the sewer off 100%.
Okay.
And if we could have it retroactive back to November 1st, because we have about just under 20 adjustments waiting right now to be adjusted.
Okay. I assume this has attorney review? So-
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
I worked with them on it.
Okay, is anyone opposed to this?
No.
I think it's a great thing. Do we have a motion for item D13, leak adjustment policy?
I'll make a motion that we approve item D13, the leak adjustment policy.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Item 14, license agreement with Southwest Florida Management District. Danielle, I see your name.
Yes, thank you. So we received correspondence from a gentleman who's a real estate specialist with the Southwest Florida Water Management District. They used to have a gauge that measured the depth of the lake for Lake Anoka on private property, somebody's beachfront. The house sold, the new owners requested that the gauge be moved. The water district met with our staff on site and showed them a place that they could put it. And now they want a license agreement that allows them to keep their meter there.
So obviously that's city-owned parcel, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, it's in the right of way.
Yep. So this lake doesn't currently have a boat ramp anywhere, right?
No, it doesn't.
I don't think it does. Well, since we do own a parcel that goes all the way down to the lake, I think there is a grant program through the FWC for boat ramps. Perhaps we should think about adding it to it because usually these water meters are at boat ramps. So it's a convenient way for them to locate it. It also would have pavement that goes all the way down to the water and more people will be able to actually use the lake. So maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, FERDAP grants are usually good for that.
I'll look into that. Thank you.
All right. Is anyone opposed to them putting the water meter at this location?
No.
No.
All right. So do we have a motion to approve item number D14?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Last but certainly not least, item number 15, the strategic plan for the city of Avon Park.
Yes, thank you. You may recall during my interview, one of my first questions was, what is the mission statement of the city of Avon Park? And we don't have one. We don't have a vision statement. And I would like to start the process of putting together a strategic plan. I'd like to go out for RFP, to find consultants. I know you're going to ask me how much would that cost. I read a study about that was for 14 different cities and their populations were between 2,000 and 20,000 with 58% of them being right around what our population is. And their costs were anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 for the study. And that typically pays for a facilitator to come in to schedule the different community meetings. This would be something that we could all get behind as a community. It's not just going to be staff dictating or council dictating. We're going to have the schools, the nonprofits, the businesses, the churches involved in what do we want to be when we grow up. And I would like to see everybody coalesce around what this vision ultimately is and move forward as a city and not keep tearing ourselves down.
Thank the Lord. Have you spoken to CFRPC about it? See what they would charge or?
I have not.
Okay.
And that was on the advice of legal counsel. So I guess
Oh.
they don't like to be competitive. If we want to just deem, okay, we'll go with CFRPC, we can do that. But if we want to get a broader participation from companies that do this for a living, and that's all they do, to see what they could provide for us.
Okay.
Yeah, I found out the unfortunate way that that if you tell them that, get a price from them and then say to them, we're talking to some other people and they say, oh, don't forget about it. We can't give you a price if you're actually looking at other people because we're not going to compete with private industry. And I respect that. But
So I guess at this point, the plan would be for you to go out and get bids and then we would go from there. We wouldn't actually be looking to schedule meetings or anything at this point.
Correct.
Is anyone opposed to this?
No.
Mayor, I have a question for Dr. Kelly, so I can understand. When we bring all these different organizations and people together and they're gonna put their information on the table, right? Pretty much. They're gonna put their suggestions on the table. So
Yes.
in the end, who makes the last decision now?
The council.
The council's gonna make the last decision.
Yes.
So other words, we using all the gathered information that we have received, but at the end, the council makes the last decision on what they think is best for the city.
Correct. But I will say that the council will be involved every
Right.
step of the
Every
way.
step of the way.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was just as curious that there's gonna be so many ideals and suggestions come to the
Yeah.
table. I just want to know how we come to the conclusion in the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the beauty of it.
So will you have different committees then for that?
It would just be one committee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
So-
all the schools, sorry.
Go ahead.
So the schools would have a representative and the churches would have okay, and that would be the one committee that would put all of the
Well,
missions
Well, we-
together.
it would
the
be more
council
of a
is-
community meeting with facilitated
Right.
talks. So
Okay.
we would say, okay, what is great about Avon Park? And then people would throw out a bunch of ideas. And then you'd say, okay, well, what do we want to highlight and focus on out of all these great things? What do we want to take to the next level? And then you would set a goal for that. And you just organically build what your strategic plan is from all of these conversations.
Ultimately, we're going to have to devote our tax dollars to that. We're gonna have to
Exactly.
build our staff teams to be able to accomplish these goals and et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. Yes.
It may shift everything that we do in a big way, or we may wind up in the same boat. We don't know yet.
It very well could. And then once we've adopted this strategic plan, I would bring forward items to you and say, okay, this is in furtherance of goal 3B. And you would go, oh, yeah, that's great. Okay, approved,
Right.
hopefully.
Yeah.
I didn't vote for that one. I voted for it. All right. So is anyone opposed to receiving bids and taking this to the next level?
No.
Let's do it.
I don't see any opposition. Do you need a motion for that?
No, because it's not going to exceed her authority anyway. That's a.
Okay. Very good. Any city manager updates?
I do. I have several. The first one is we have a request to rename a street, and I'm going to give that over to Jason, and then I have a couple more after that.
Good evening. So we had a request that came in from the county, Ernest C. Sims. It's a section that's by the railroad track that goes over to Lake Ave. So that area in between there, for continuity purposes, It was requested that the street be renamed. There's some other issues there with addresses, but the county's reached out to us. We had a meeting. And so we were looking to rename that street. I reached out to Shirley Johnson, who's here, and she gave a real good background of a proposed name for the street, and that would be Clarence Spry Street. She gave a good amount of background information for that. I looking at everything that I saw in the background that she submitted, I think it's an excellent choice. And one of the rules is that they want 3 names in order for just in case there's any duplicates. But I've looked online and there isn't any Clarence Spry Street in Florida, not even the Spry Street. It'll come up Mary. So I think we're good there if we can go with that. We have a representative from the county here that they just walk us through the process of what we have to do.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Carly Fitzgerald. I am the GIS addressing manager from Highlands County. I appreciate your time here and bringing this to you. A couple years ago, the Sheriff's Department partners that we work with identified an error with an address on Ernest E. Sims. And in looking at that roadway, we noticed that there was a number of different addressing issues along that road, and it kind of snowballed into a bigger issue. And we finally have the staffing needed to tackle that issue. So we started to, put it together. What are all of our itemized issues with that road? And we believe we can fix almost all of them by readdressing the western portion from the railroad west of Ernest E. Sims. And we reached out to Jason.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. That's
fine.
linked on that. We reached out to Jason to talk to him about the city's interest in participating and working with us on doing that and reaching out to the community because we understood Ernest E. Sims was a culturally significant name and we didn't want to just initiate a road renaming and remove that. So what we were originally proposing was keeping the same name on the eastern portion of Ernest E. Sims, but renaming the western portion because there were a number of other issues that we identified with the ranges and changing the numbers on the western portion. So if we need to fix people's addresses on the western portion, we might as well also fix the road name issue. And the issue that we had with the road name and why we need to change part of it is we have a county ordinance that states that in order for one name to be used for that roadway, it has to be continuous. And that railroad breaks that road into 2.
So what's the actual, go ahead. What's the actual policy for doing that?
So
The order of things, I should say.
Well, first thing that we wanted to do was identify all of the issues. Then we brought that to the city. We asked for suggested road names. The next thing that we're going to do is send out mailers to the citizens to let them know that a potential address change may be coming.
Mhm.
And then what we do is we take it to the Board of County Commissioners for their approval as well. We explain the same issues that we explained to you. If they approve it, and that would also be the opportunity for the citizens to voice any complaints against that name change. If they approve it, though, we will mail letters out to the citizens and they have 30 days to update the numbers on their homes.
Okay.
And they have a full year to still collect mail at both addresses, the old and the new.
Understood. Ms. Taylor, do you have a question?
And I have a question. I'm very familiar with where Ernest E. Sims at. So help me out. What portion you want to change?
From the railroad tracks west.
Okay, when you say west, okay,
To Lake Avenue.
what is the street now? What is the name of the street now?
Ernest E. Sims.
Okay, as far as I know, so help me out. Ernest, this is what I know.
Mhm.
Ernest E. Sims runs from Memorial all the way down to the underpass, the railroad track.
Mhm.
Does it go under the underpass? Yeah. So it goes under the underpass and it deads into what?
South Lake Boulevard is
South
the
Lake
western
Boulevard.
extent.
So you want to change it from the underpass to South Lake Boulevard? Where? What part you want to change?
It's from the underpass to Lake Avenue.
To Lake Avenue.
Yeah.
That's the part.
I'm familiar with it.
Lake Avenue is west of the railroad.
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with the term underpass when it is in reference to this road.
Well,
So this, you got Ernest C. Sims, it just dead ends. What goes underneath, that's Alice Nelson Street. That's what goes under the railroad track. And then the other is Tulane Drive that goes under the railroad track.
Okay,
So, Ernest C. Sims just dead ends right there. There's nothing that doesn't go under at that location.
okay, but I'm confused. I thought you wanted to
Yeah, ma'am, if you want to make a comment, we'll have to get you up to the microphone so we can get you on the record. Yep, you can. Just come up to the microphone. Just give your name and address for the record, please.
1012 South Lake Boulevard.
Yes, ma'am.
And Ernest C. Sim run from Memorial all the way to Lake Boulevard. It runs under the underpass. And my question is, why do you all want to change it? And I'm almost sure the people that live on that street don't know anything about it.
Yep.
I'm sure they don't know anything about it.
Miss,
And it's a lot of older people. These people don't want to change their address now.
Miss Boone, what was your last comment? They don't know nothing about what?
About them changing want to change the name to Ernest E. Change the name from Ernest E. Sims to something else. I don't believe they know. They are aware of it.
No.
They're probably not at this point, no.
They probably are not aware of it.
Right, yeah, and you need to wait before you start making decisions. Talk to the resident that live on the street.
Right.
Before you make a decision.
And Ernest E. And Ernest E. Sim is a very popular name. Everybody knows.
Well, my question was, why do you want to change it?
Yeah, why?
I understand why it was named Ernest C. Sim.
Sure.
Why do you want to change it?
And they will answer that question as soon as you're done.
So this, I mean, I went out, I looked down Ernest C. Sims, and seen go right into the railroad track. You see here, Alice Nelson, this goes underneath, Ernest C. Sims, this goes right over to here, here and stops. Alice Nelson goes around, there's an entrance here, there's an entrance here. I don't know if any other entrance or that goes underneath that area. And that's what they're saying. It's not continuous. So being that it's not continuous, that it needs to be changed. This came from the county. They're having issues with the police department that had problems with it.
Sure.
So that's why they're requesting it to be changed. It's not us. It came to us saying it needs to happen. So we reached out to the community. Sorry. We reached out to a member of the community and we tried to see what good name. And then we had an option. So that's what we did.
Sure.
Jason, can I make a statement?
Of course.
Hal McRae breaks off. It goes across Tulane Lake and pick back up on the other side. So it's not the only street that does that.
No, I agree. I asked her that same question. I said, there's other areas that may do this and said, well, at this time, that's the one that's in front of us. And that's what we have to do. So we may have to look at that in the future as being an issue.
Is this something that the city would get with the residents first before they just?
That's what we're here to do.
Okay.
That's what we brought it here. We're having a conversation, send a manager update. So we're here to have the conversation with everybody and just bringing it up that we thought this was a good name. So in that process, we can go around, we could set it up for a discussion item. It can be, we try to figure it out. We have a vote, whatever you decide of what we need to do, but what we need to do or have to do, we have to change that name. So being that it's not continuous. So however we go about doing it, what's the best way to do it?
Yep.
And that's where we are here.
So there's no state statute with regard to municipalities. There is one for counties, but there's none that tells cities how they do it. So you do it under your general authority under the Constitution. You have a right to make these changes. So I looked at your code and your code doesn't have any mechanism for doing it but a lot of cities do. You can either add a provision or just do without it for now and maybe not ever do anything about it. But nevertheless, I think giving notice is a really good idea. To allow the people to have their say, but ultimately it's your decision, no matter, what the say is.
Okay.
And some of this is a county, by the way.
Sure.
A good amount of it's a county. So we'd be replacing 2 signs and then a county, 3 or 4? 3. So that would be.
Can I ask a question?
Miss Boone's been waiting
Oh.
patiently there. Just give your name one more time. Yeah.
Helen Boone. why I am talking so is because I used to live on 4th Street. 4th Street
Okay.
was the name Ernest C. Sim got to be 4th Street got to be Ernest C. Sim.
I see.
And I'm trying to tell you, it run from Memorial straight to Lake Boulevard. There is unless the county just changed it. Unless the county just changed it.
Okay.
Now I'm telling you what I know. Unless they just, I can't help what they have up there. They can put up there whatever they want to.
Sure.
But I'm telling you the truth. It runs from one end to the other. Now
Okay.
it really does. And again, you need to check, to me, you should check with the residents.
I agree.
Got it.
What's the last name that spell that last name? Clarence, what's
CLARENCE SPRY.
Spray?
Spry.
Spry, okay, Spry.
They want to change, they have to go down.
Ma'am, we have to, if you're gonna make a comment, it's gotta be in the microphone, so it's recorded. That's all.
So so everyone could see, there's no bridge there. That's Ernest C. Sims. All right. There's no bridge there. So I think it's a dirt bike ramp to go jump the train tracks. So that's Alice. I think it was Alice Nelson is what I said.
Where?
So it's what goes up underneath there. The other area that's a little bit south of that. So this is that's what it is. That's where it came to us, and however we go about
Why does that say
making that
Strong
change.
Avenue?
What's that?
It says Strong Avenue.
Jason, have you driven it yourself?
Yeah, I on the other side, Ernest C. Sims. When you go to the other side,
Okay.
see,
I see there.
yeah, you get there, then you see there's a tree line. There's no continuous road through there.
Okay.
When I went over and I looked at it, when I originally I looked and I saw how much was there, and I said I verified to make sure that it wasn't continuous.
Mhm.
But that's what the other street signs, they all say that.
Okay.
How many feet do you think that is that they're trying to change?
So you zoom out, Matt, please. Perfect. So it's
Okay, I see it. Yeah. What do you think that was?
that section is probably
Right click the mouse.
I
You'll be able
I don't know, probably 600,
to
800, 700 feet, something like that.
There you go.
Carly Fitzgerald again. Just to add a little metric to it, there are 20 current site address points along that segment of road that we would be changing the name of, and there's 7 vacant.
2,062 feet. Okay. All right. So,
And I think it's 500 within the city, like a little over about 700 within the city, and then the rest is the county. From Cummings Ave over.
Okay.
So without having to go out and count it, maybe on an average, how many houses out there would have to change their address?
I think
How many
she said
residents?
20.
Oh,
20
20,
houses.
okay.
She said
But
seven.
some of the houses on the addresses, it should be consistent where you have even numbers on one side, on the other. It jumps back and forth and it's confusing, and it does affect the police department as well whenever they're trying to find things. So, and the post office.
so would it be possible to have a east and a west?
That is something that we looked at. However, that does not meet our county ordinance. The only part of the name that counts as the street name is that main center part.
Mm.
Any pre-directions, post-directions, or like street, court, nothing there changes the street name.
Interesting. What about if they just simply abbreviated the name? Made it EES Street and then Ernest E. Sims Street.
I would need to look at the county ordinance to see if that would be a viable road name. However, that would still constitute a road name change and an address change for these individuals.
What I'm saying is, it seems like there's at least a few individuals that are here tonight that are very, keen on keeping the name.
Mhm.
So as close to the name as you can keep it while still accomplishing the task. I mean, it's just an option.
We won't know until we actually notice, but I think the person that spoke, and all due respect, she doesn't actually live there. So she's just speculating that people will be upset, and maybe there will be, but we can take care of that with notice.
Sure. I think the point I'm making is that whenever it comes time and it does get noticed, obviously the people that are interested are going to come to a meeting. And then if we can give them as many options as we can, then I think that would probably be more well received than just simply saying this is what it's got to be and end of story.
I have one more question too.
Go ahead.
And you guys may have already mentioned this, and I apologize if so, but instead of renaming the whole street, is there any way they could renumber the houses instead of renaming the whole street?
So one of the issues that we had was we had a list of ordinance violations along Ernest E. Sims, including numbers were incorrect, like some ranges were backwards. There were some duplicate ranges. So what you suggested would fix part of the issues that we had where the numbers were incorrect. But another one of the line items for the issues that we had was this is not a continuous road. So we need to rename the portion that is not connected to the other portion.
Because if the fire department's trying to get to, if they report to that side over there, there's no way to get to the other side other
Correct.
than going around to a different street.
Correct.
I remember when right after 9/11, we had to change a lot of street names and it's extremely irritating. It's not fun because ours was some of the ones that got changed. So I definitely know their frustration, but if we give them some kind of an input, not just throw a name at them, but
Sure.
maybe give them some choices.
Well, as Jerry said, ultimately it is up to the city, what we choose to do, with the roads that fall within the city. So there is no actual strict guideline as to how we do it. So certainly we can notice it, that there's a proposed change and see where it goes from there. So I don't see an issue with that. Does that seem like a viable plan to everyone here?
Good to me.
No, I don't like that.
Okay.
I like that. Mayor, I know who Clarence Spry is. I think his wife played a more significant role in the community than he did. So if we're gonna name this street, I think that we should get with the residents to see what should that street be named.
That was the point of what I made.
Yeah, and so I don't see this big significant role he played into the community for it to be named after him. Like I said, if it was his wife, oh yeah,
Well, that'll be,
probably wouldn't even disagree.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that would be addressed in the notification issue when they come here to speak. If they have an issue with regard to that, I include that in the notice as, goes one proposal, or that way they can prepare for it. But, if they have information about who this person is and why they're important, then let them make the decision. I totally agree with that.
And at this point, I'm not even sure if the community would even want to change it to what it is. Mr. Sim was our only Black principal here in Avon Park, and he played a very significant role here in the city of Avon Park. And if I had my choice, and I probably can speak for a lot of citizens of Avon Park, they would prefer his street to zigzag all through the town of Avon Park. But of course, we can't have that. So to shorten it, I don't know if they pretty much want to agree with that because it took a minute for us to get it.
I think it's an issue of safety though. I mean, you have to think about police responding. Not every policeman and not every fireman has lived in Avon Park. So the ones who've lived here a long time know about the break in the two roads. But if we have a new fireman, I mean, it would seem more important to me to be able to address the emergency than, I'm sure there's other individuals maybe that we could honor. And I don't think we should just ask the people on that street. I mean, I think we should, the people who live on the street may change. It should be a citywide
I agree with
thing
that.
to be able to
we can ask
nominate
the
it.
Community, or we can ask the street. We can ask the community, or we can ask the.
It's going to be a public hearing, so everybody that wants to speak on it can do that. So that'd be great. Yes, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Shirley Johnson, 202 Williams Gray Court, Avon
ma'am.
Park, Florida. Now, first of all, I was on the committee that named Ernest E. Sims. When we named it Ernest E. Sims, that was under C.B. Shari. We had no idea that we couldn't jump that railroad track. So it definitely went all the way to Lake when we named it. And yes, Ernest E. Sims was our principal. So honorable to keep that name. If you can keep it in there, I'm fine with it. But when it was brought to my attention, not only by Jason, but also by one of the GSIs mapping that our offices are next to each other, and they said they need to rename it. Well, so I started thinking about some people over there. I made a couple phone calls to some people that lived there a long time and found out that the Miss Clarence and Mr. Clarence and Gussie Spry was one of the first families to be there. They bought some land, cleared it, and built a home. They built apartments, owned a grocery store, opened a grocery store, feeding people, having people in the area work there. His wife, very, like Councilwoman said, Miss Gussie was definitely a beautiful woman in the community as well. And I just threw it out there because I know that they need to name that street. I don't have a problem with y'all call the street anything you want to. I made a proposal, and I don't know if Jason not sent it to the city manager, but I figured all of you had the proposal. So I look at the proposal because it's very defined in the proposal. But if there's a way to say Ernest E. Sims, I definitely agree. Ernest E. Sims was our principal. But there are a lot of things that, as far as land and the dedication to the development of the area, the community services that this family brought, the spiritual guidance that the family had for that area, and not to even mention the fact that the apartments that are on that street now are still, we call it Spry's. That area used to be called Lacey Hill. The daughter is married to the guy that owns that property, one of the Spry's. So that's why I put the proposal together and I sent it to Jason. And I let someone from GS look at it. Do what you want to do. God bless you. I got to go teach a class. Good night.
For the GIS person there, what are the rules behind drive, court, road? Any of those options work?
You mean for fixing the issue that we have
Correct,
with
yeah.
the two different road names? We could change the road mode. However, that does not change the road name. So we would still have that same issue. The pre-directions, the post-directions, and the modes after the road don't count towards what the actual road name is.
I think you need to change your system. Gee.
I understand. A couple things that I wanted to just throw out there for discussion purposes. I know there was some discussion about a Mr. versus Mrs. Spry. Maybe the road could just be Spry Street. That is an option. Another option, if there is a lot of opposition to losing Ernest E. Sims, there is a mechanism in the county to create a memorial road as well. So if we took Ernest E. Sims and turned it into a common named streets, we could have a sign and turn that into a memorial road where we have a sign up that says this is Ernest E. Sims Memorial.
I think you have a winner there.
Okay.
The street would still change names, but
The
then
street,
would
their address
have a
and their street
memorial
would still
sign.
change,
Oh, I see.
but there would be a sign commemorating that this is a memorial road.
Okay, and obviously we would have our meetings before the county bothers having theirs, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we won't do anything without approval and a motion from
Perfect.
the city.
And you would be pleased to attend our meeting when the people come here to complain, right?
I'm going to bring my others with me as well.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Sounds good. Does staff need anything else from us? Obviously, we got to notice it. We're going to have a meeting about it, probably a couple, and go from there. Okay. Very good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jason. Anything else in city manager updates?
Yes, thank you. I just want to remind everybody that we have a planning and zoning board meeting tomorrow night. We have the Community Redevelopment Agency Advisory Board Thursday night. And this is Jason Atkinson's last meeting with us. I just want to wish him well in greener pastures, and I will miss him and his can-do attitude.
Jason, we appreciate everything you've done. You've left us beautified.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It was a pleasure working with everyone here. I do intend on remaining a resident because I love this place and look forward to seeing y'all out in the streets.
Will you continue to advise staff on flower and plant choices?
Always available.
Okay, appreciate that.
So I already mentioned it to him, but I thought one of the better public works people we've had because his broad understanding and the fact that he actually comments on ordinances that I propose that affect his area. Just so helpful. Thanks. So we'll miss you.
Thank you.
And in that same vein, we do have a sign up, Miss Nancy Fisk.
Nancy Fisk, 603 South Hart Avenue, Avon Park.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you for the opportunity, because I just wanted to thank Jason, Mr. Atkinson, for getting the city started on the beautification project. Obviously, we're not finished, but he's done a great job starting. And as a volunteer who works to improve the city, at the museum, and I volunteer elsewhere as well. But I know I speak for all the community volunteers when I say that he has been great to work with, and we are going to miss you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Maybe you can join the garden club now.
All righty. Is there anything else for the good of the people?
Pamela Long. I'm going to say the address of the 28 East Main Street for the Chamber of Commerce. I also just wanted to say thank you, Jason, for the beautification that you've started. You've really made a difference in our community and to our citizens. Our citizens are cleaning up, they're painting their buildings, they're planting flowers, and you made that happen. And so I just want to say thank you and I hope you'll come back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good man. All right. If there's nothing else to give to the people, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Seeing no opposition, we are adjourned.